Aloha. You probably know me. I'm Jason Schwartz. Do you know Bronson Kaahui? Bronson is, first of all, welcome to our show.
Hey, what's up?
Bronson is running for State Senate District 6, which is Kihei and West Maui, right? About?
Yeah.
Maalaea in the middle, too?
Yeah.
Okay.
The strip.
The whole strip. What made you decide to run?
Well, my main thing is that I was like you one day. I see all the politicians yapping and they have a lot of words, but never anything of substance. They like to repeat slogans often, and they basically take advantage of the public's ignorance. So my job is to help you navigate through all the bullshit and get straight down to the issues. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Well,
Take two.
we had a phone ring in the middle. We were just at the right point, which is, let's talk about issues.
Sure.
Do you have any pet issue you want to start with, or you want me to just pick them out of a hat?
Either way.
Okay. Agriculture. You have any feelings about this initiative, this GMO thing?
Yeah, I do. I have been buying organic for the last 6 years since my wife got pregnant. And I've been active in the anti-GMO movement for about 3 years. And what kind of really transformed my view was the way that Shaka and Babes Against Biotech, they really don't tolerate dissent. And I started to ask questions, and they would start censoring my posts on Facebook. They'd be like, "Oh, well, we can't have people rating
Who
about
would be?
Babes Against Biotech." Like, I would either ask a question or, post an article that said something that contradicted the party line, and it would be immediately deleted. And now they've got it to the point where I'm not allowed to comment at all. And so that, for me, someone like me, that only makes me more suspicious. Like, if you're censoring someone, that's a red flag to me. That makes me want to do more research and start asking more questions. So that's what I did. And come to find out, I've been wrong this whole time. The science on GMOs is pretty clear. There's basically no difference between a GMO tomato and an organic tomato. None at all. According to science.
Well, I'm not sure how that can be even so, but a GMO means that they've modified the genes on a tomato. You're saying that this tomato looks like this tomato?
No. What I'm saying is that evolution is a constantly occurring process. So there's no such thing as a tomato not changing its genes. Every time you reproduce, the genes are changing. So
then let's.
Humans have been modifying
I'm take it an
organisms
interesting
for like
different
10,000
step,
years.
which means so you're saying that genetically modifying everything is genetically modifying all the time.
Yeah.
And so this is, I think what they're saying is, if you're consciously modifying the genetics, the group that is saying vote yes says, we would like you to prove that it's safe before you start growing it and feeding it to us.
Well, like I said, there's been thousands of studies done on the issue, and there is a scientific consensus now. Of course, there are fringe scientists out there in groups who say, oh no, the GMOs are dangerous for your health. They cause cancer and tumors. Dr. Seralini is one of the most obvious examples. But you can go right now on your computer and Google the Seralini affair. Dr. Seralini is a known quack and a known fraud. He completely abandoned the scientific method when he did his study, and he was immediately called out. The journal that published his study retracted it because he was, first of all, in his experiment, he used a strain of rats that is known to get tumors in the wild, up to 80%, like just normally. So he fed them GMO corn and non-GMO corn. Guess what? The non-GMO corn rats also got tumors. On top of that, he kept the rats alive longer than is, ethical from a scientific perspective. You're supposed to euthanize after a certain point when no more information can be gathered from this. He kept them alive for the sole purpose of having the tumor grow beyond its normal portion so that they could take pictures and post it to social media. That's an unethical treatment of animals, first of all. Secondly, why are you using a strain of rats that is known to get tumors in the wild? It doesn't make any sense at all. And then the final thing he did is he had journalists sign a non-disclosure agreement, which is basically censorship. He said, don't share this information with other scientists or other researchers because we don't want them to know about it. That is completely contradictory to the scientific method and the peer review process. Other people have to see your work and replicate it. And if they come to the same conclusion, then that means it's valid. If not, it's probably bunk science. And so what happened is people replicated his experiment and found out that he basically fabricated the whole thing. Google the Seralini affair. Go see it for yourself.
I guess I'm going to be Googling myself.
Yeah.
So
and then you can go to the Shaka website right now, and you go click on GMO facts, and it says the first organization that they cite is the American Association of Environmental Medicine. Sounds legit, right? So then I go and Google that. I'm like, who is this American Association of Environmental Medicine? Turns out they're a quack organization. They're against vaccines, for example. They are not.
What do you mean by a quack organization?
They're not recognized by any scientific or medical organization. They made their own certifying board because nobody would certify them. It's not real science. It's like you have scientists who say that evolution is not right, or that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old. I mean, you have real scientists who really believe this. I mean, you have scientists who don't think the Earth is warming, or don't think that man has caused it. Just because you have scientists who believe something, it doesn't contradict the mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence in favor of the consensus.
All right. So I'm going to break in only because that isn't even an issue you're going to... If you were in that state Senate House, you would be voting on that kind of thing. You would. So that was an issue that you would want to do.
Well, let's go to the labeling law then. Since science tells us that there's essentially no difference between a GMO tomato and an organic tomato, then first of all, organic doesn't mean what you think it means, because organic doesn't mean pesticide and herbicide free. That's a huge misconception that a lot of people have. Organic, 99% of all organic food is grown with both pesticides and herbicides. And many times these pesticides and herbicides are more dangerous than synthetic alternatives like Roundup. Roundup was made specifically to stop using atrazine, which is what they were using before. Now it's glyphosate. Glyphosate is safer than atrazine and a lot of other organic or natural pesticides that you probably never heard of. What they do
I've
is...
seen glyphosate? Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah.
Has issues.
Yeah, it definitely does have issues, but what are we comparing it to? If they had a mandatory pesticide labeling, I'd agree with that. But then that would be basically all food. 99% of all food uses pesticides and herbicides. So yeah, we could do that, but guess who would fight that? The Organic Consumers Union. Probably Shaka too. They don't want you to label pesticides. They want to scare you into thinking GMOs cause cancer or tumors, which is false.
I would say that, and I don't think anyone would want to, the pesticide thing. I think no one would want that. Shaka guys, too.
You think that Shaka would be in support of mandatory pesticide labeling? Let's push it. Let's work together on this issue.
I'm saying, mandatory pesticide labeling, like you said, that means almost all the produce out there that's being delivered. So that really wouldn't serve very much. It's just something that we all would have to understand as a fact.
So you're comfortable with eating pesticides and herbicides
No.
But,
I'm talking about the labeling. You were talking about labeling.
Yeah, well, okay, why do we have to label GMOs?
I also learned today that the labeling may or may not be a state thing. It might be really a federal. When they were trying to decide in the state, they were talking about how the FDA would be involved, and so in other words, there's all kinds of reasons.
I mean, it's immaterial because even at the federal level, scientists testified before Congress, and basically what they all agree on is that Americans are too stupid for GMO labeling. I mean, that's basically the thesis of what they're saying.
You think they're stupid? I don't think they think they're stupid.
That's what the scientists say. Because here's the thing. The GMO debate is not a scientific debate. It's largely a social phenomenon. Just like creationism. I mean, there are millions of people in this world who believe that the Earth is 8,000 years old. And I'm not kidding about that. Just because millions of people happen to have a view doesn't mean that there's, like, scientists are unsure about the age of the Earth. No, the Earth is billions of years old, and scientists know this. And notwithstanding people who are uninformed and ignorant of the issue.
You're expressing a lot of opinions. How did you learn your stuff?
I started researching. It's really out of character for me to just jump on the bandwagon. I think it was because my wife was pregnant, and I wanted to eliminate any kind of health risks. So I was trying to avoid any kind of risk at all. Even to the point where I wouldn't let her use the laptop on her belly because I thought maybe that could cause some kind of damage or whatever. So that's really what got me started. And then you surround yourself with like-minded people on Facebook who also they share the same material, same information. So it's like the propaganda is constantly being fed to you. On top of that, there's a cognitive bias that everyone has that's called confirmation bias, which means that you readily accept facts that confirm your view and you ignore things that are contradictory. And this only helps to reinforce whatever view you have, and it's very common in politics. So I think that's how. And also, I had an emotional attachment. I'm kind of anti-corporation. I'm anti-government. So for me, it was kind of like I wanted to believe that GMOs are bad because that was consistent with my worldview. And then the only thing that kind of galvanized me and forced me to start asking questions is when they started censoring me. Because in my book, censorship is a huge red flag. Anytime you censor somebody or try to silence them, that just makes me more curious. Now I really want to learn about it. So now I'm going to start actually doing research. And when I did the research, I was like, oh my goodness, I've been wrong this whole time.
Well, I hope all of you will do your own investigation. What was that, Sarah? What was the name? Seralini?
Seralini.
How do you
check it out? Dr. Seralini.
Or C?
Seralini. I'm sorry.
Seralini.
Check it out.
Anyway, I know it's a big subject, GMO, and some people say it's going to eliminate jobs, and that leans them that way. Some are
for me,
interested in science.
It's immaterial whether it eliminates jobs or not, because if GMOs were dangerous, I wouldn't care how many jobs it eliminated. I'd be like, well, get rid of them. They're dangerous. But that's not the case. I mean, science has a way of quickly rooting out BS. If somebody makes a claim, and it's an extraordinary claim, like, hey, GMOs are causing cancer, GMOs are causing tumors, that requires extraordinary evidence. You can't expect people, especially scientists, to just believe that. They're going to want to test it and make sure what you're saying is legit and not just, scaremongering.
Uh-huh. But they're doing it. We see the media, all kinds of directions are making comments about everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how this thing works. I mean, that's how I got hooked into it. It's scary, GMOs, it sounds like, Franken fish and Franken tomato, and it's scary. And when you're scared, you're not thinking, you're not reasoning, you're not being rational, you're just acting on impulse.
Let's pick another subject. Pick a subject.
Marijuana should be legalized, not decriminalized.
hospital.
There should be no such thing as a certificate of need.
There should be nothing. Say that one more time.
There should be no such thing as a certificate of need.
What does that mean, too?
So, in order to build a hospital, you have to get permission from the government that says that, you know, the area needs a hospital. That shouldn't even be the case. If you want to build a hospital with your own money, not government funds, of course. If you have your own money and you want to build a hospital, build it.
Talking about West Maui situation?
West Maui, South Maui, whatever you want. You're an entrepreneur.
I'm saying. So that's what you were specifically, because, you know, when I said hospital, I wasn't specifically thinking about.
Well, that's what killed the Kihei hospital, was the certificate of need. They had to go to the government and say, hey, they had to like plead their case with the government, which is stupid. If you have your own money and you want to build a hospital, you should be able to build a hospital. But here's what the certificate of need is about. They're worried that it's going to take jobs from Maui Memorial. You know, like, oh, well, we have these jobs here. If we build a hospital there, they're going to take jobs and it's going to reduce the service. I don't buy that argument. You know, that's economic protectionism. That's them protecting jobs that already exist, and these people vote. You know, so they're going to protect theirs at the expense of everyone else. I mean, it's just like the Jones Act. Are you familiar with the Jones Act?
Which one?
So the Jones Act was enacted early in the 19th century, or 20th century, I'm sorry. And basically, it reduces shipping in Hawaii. It's a federal law that says all ships need to be built in America with an American captain, primarily crewed by Americans with an American flag on it. And the effect of that is that it substantially reduces shipping because America doesn't build ships anymore, and the ships that we do build are 5 times more expensive than they are anywhere else in the world. So what happens is that it increases your cost of living and everybody's by at least 1/3. You know, everything is more expensive at least by 1/3 just due to the Jones Act. But the reason that the Jones Act still exists is because a lot of people work for companies like Matson, you know, Young Brothers, Horizon Lines. These are well-paying union jobs. And the unions, of course, they want to protect corporate profits. They agree that the corporation should be protected. No, their only disagreement is what should be done with the profits. You know, the unions want to go to the workers, the corporations want to go to shareholders. But they agree on corporate protectionism.
When we're talking here, I'm thinking, clearly you have opinions and they're outside the, let's say,
the mainstream.
Traditional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly.
What are you hoping to do in the office? I mean, what do you hope you can do there?
Cut government. Get government out of the way. Government creates problems. I don't even know where to start. Let's look at homelessness, for example. You have a situation where 5% of the land here in Maui is zoned for commercial and residential. 47% to conservation, 48% to agriculture. Or switch those. Ag and conservation. So quickly we see that there is not a shortage of land here in Maui. There's a shortage of zoned land. On top of that, you have 6 layers of bureaucracy that you have to hop through before you can do any kind of development at all. Which is, this process can take decades. You know, it can take a very long time to get through all the permits and all, the whole process. So naturally, you know, economics tells us that there's going to be a shortage of housing if you do that. And so people don't really have anywhere to go. And the free market has come up with a solution. They say, oh, well, you can't afford a house on Maui. Well, we have these things called mobile homes. They're very cheap, and basically anyone with a job can afford one. But the government banned that solution. The government says, hey, well, we don't want mobile homes here in Maui. Well, if you don't want to look at a mobile home, you can look at a homeless guy in a shopping cart. But don't pretend like you're choosing between mobile homes and nothing. You know, there are economic consequences to every decision that the government makes. And they've decided that homelessness is more acceptable than mobile homes. On top of that, the free market has also come up with another solution. They're called 3D printers. So now we have the technology where we can very quickly, rapidly create and build very cheap and affordable homes using hempcrete, which is hemp made into concrete, more or less. The government's banned hemp for stupid, idiotic reasons too, so now we can't use that. Now they want to do a study they want to study whether or not we should grow hemp here in Hawaii. Even though you can import any amount of hemp at all from any other country in the world that grows it. Right now, I could get on the phone and order 1 ton of hemp, and there's no law that's preventing me from doing that. But I can't grow it? That's stupid. That's government.
I see. So you basically want to be in there to, I don't want to say dismantle it, but change the laws so that they're less restricting.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the prohibition on marijuana. Can anybody name one accomplishment of the marijuana prohibition? Has it done absolutely anything productive for our society? Can you even name one area where it has actually improved life?
I see. Okay.
And because, I mean, it creates jobs, for police, prison people, politicians, bureaucrats. Yeah, it creates those kinds of jobs. But at what expense? Everyone else suffers for no reason. It's only increased use. More people smoke weed now than they otherwise would if marijuana was legal. So it's stupid. I mean, that's another example of government being stupid.
Any other things that in that role there in the state senate that you feel you could help, I guess, reduce the hand, isn't that what it is? Reduce the hand that's affecting your life and your family?
I mean, I don't even know where to start. The government is an obstacle towards liberty in society. I mean, they're an obstacle to progress.
So if you have voters out there, what would you say to them as why they should vote for you?
I mean, you should. I really wish that you would go out there and start researching these issues for yourself, and start to realize that government is the problem, not the solution. We always look towards the government to save us from some whatever ill that they can conceive of: terrorism, communism, drugs, whatever it is. Start to look towards the government as being the source of the problem, because really things start to make sense when you see that. Or I'll give you a great example: corporatism. Corporatism is the collusion between corporations and government. Most people want to say, "Oh, well, they blame corporations," which is only partially correct, because if there were no favors to buy and sell in the first place, there could be no corporatism. So really, you need to look at government as being the main entity responsible for this mess. Look at Obama. He constantly goes on TV talking about wealth inequality. Wealth inequality has skyrocketed under Obama. I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. His economic policies favor Wall Street. The QE and the printing press, they print money. It goes directly to financiers and bankers, and it's supposed to trickle down, but it never does. So I mean, I don't know why people still believe in this myth that government represents the people or is helping the little man versus the big man. It's the opposite. Government is the 1%.
Well, thank you. Before we end, I'd like to be able to give you a chance to kind of summarize if there's anything that you make sure you'd like to tell the people out there.
Edward Snowden is an American hero. What else?
Well, okay. Well, I'm leaving it up to you because I want to give you the chance to.
Oh yeah, I guess a little bit.
Obviously, when you're Haku, one of these things, you only have a few minutes. So I want to be able to give you a chance to really get your message out. That's why I'm doing this.
Okay. I'm basically completely anti-war. I don't support almost anything that the U.S. government does overseas. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Somalia, Yemen. They're trying to get involved in Ukraine now, Syria. No, I don't support any of that, and I don't think you should either, because it's all based on lies. They're just lying to you. They're telling you that we have to be here or else this is going to happen. It's all crap. They're lying. And I served in Afghanistan.
Did you?
Yeah.
Still all hold to tell about it. That's a big deal. Congratulations on that. You know. So now you all know who Bronson Kaahui is. You know, when we look at the slate, there are so many people out there that don't get a chance to be seen by you guys. And if they have any questions and stuff, is there a way to get in touch with
can
you?
I say one more thing? I would like you guys, if you are anti-GMO like I was, I want you to start asking questions. Just start asking questions of Shaka. Start asking questions about everything. Just do your own research and ask questions. And you will see what I'm talking about. If they try to silence you or censor you or misdirect you, here's the thing. Because Monsanto lies and misleads the public, their response to that is that we're going to lie and mislead the public in order to combat these lies and
Do you think that
misrepresentations.
they're doing that by design? You do?
Yeah, because if you go to the...
I really don't. I'm wondering only because I know the people individually, and I don't think...
Wait. Okay, when you say by design, are they aware of the fact that they're wrong on the science? No. Here's the thing. What a lot of people don't realize is that the anti-GMO movement is being controlled by corporate interests. Okay? Organic groups and organic farmers unions and stuff like that stand to make millions, nationally billions, if we ban GMOs. So keep that in mind. You know, if they can scare you into either banning GMOs or not eating them or whatever, they're going to make a lot of money.
I never did think.
And a lot of people aren't aware of that. You know, I was a pawn in their little game too, until I started asking questions and doing research. And
I just think myself, I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion. Whatever the results would be, I'd like to see the studies before we're growing it.
Yeah. American Medical Association, the European Union Commission, the National Academy of Sciences. I mean, where should I start? Every major scientific organization on this planet is in agreement, and they've all done their own independent studies. I mean, yes, 75% of all the studies are funded by biotech. All right, let's be clear on that. But what about the other 25% of studies? What about the ones... The EU spent 200 million euros studying this subject for 10 years. For 10 years, the government of the European Union spent 200 million euros to study whether or not GMOs are safe to eat. And somehow they came to the same conclusion as all the other scientists in the world. So how could they come to the same
How come there are
wrong
companies
conclusion?
that are outlawing, not companies, countries, where they
Yeah.
won't allow Monsanto or the seed in?
Well, let's take the main one, Russia. So Russia has banned all GMOs. Russia has also banned homosexuality. Are we to take from this that homosexuality is dangerous because Russia banned it?
It's interesting how you...
Well, think about it.
Of course I would not give that answer. And I
Right,
don't think
but-
anyone would.
But your logic is saying, oh, well, they banned GMOs. There must be something, you know, dangerous or evil about them.
I'm just saying, just like everyone was, we'd hope, was doing the same kind of investigation that you are. That's all I'm thinking.
Well, I really don't think they did a whole lot of research on homosexuality before they banned it, and the same thing is probably true of GMOs. I think, honestly, Russia in particular, the reason they probably banned it is because it's an American corporation, and the money would go back to America. You know, if they had their own GMOs, I'm sure they would, you know, be selling them, but they don't. As far as other countries, you have, well, let's go back to Europe. You know, Germany and France banned a particular strain of corn. I think it's called like Mon 810 or something like that. This was all based upon the study done by Dr. Seralini, a thoroughly discredited study. Like, scientists around the world, as soon as he publishes, they pounced on him like a pack of rabid wolves. They're like, wait a minute, what are you doing here?
I'm glad that...
And it was based on his
This is all
testimony.
going to give everyone a chance to really dig in and do their own research and
Yep.
really evaluate what
Can I say one more thing about the Hawaii ban on GMOs in Hawaii County? All right. So that ban was based on the testimony of Jeffrey Smith. And his qualifications are that he was a ballroom dancer, and he believes that he can physically fly using yoga. He has 0 scientific credentials. He is not a scientist, and yet he was given 45 minutes to speak, and it was based on his testimony that they banned GMOs. This guy he did the documentary Genetic Roulette. I encourage everyone to go watch that. When you're done, find out who Jeffrey Smith is. He's not a scientist. He has 0 credentials, 0 qualifications to be speaking on this issue. And yet, he is given more time than actual scientists who flew in from UH Manoa to say, hey, you know, I have a doctorate in this field. I've been doing research for, 10 years now. Why is this man given time to speak, but we're not? That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The GMO debate is a social phenomenon. It is not a scientific debate.
Well, you're definitely the most interesting candidate that I've seen. You really basically sharing with me that you have strong opinions. I'm not exactly understanding how, in your role in the state senate, you would be able to apply these opinions to affect what you're hoping to do.
Well, but I mean, I'd call out, if there's any senator or any member of the public who thinks that, for example, marijuana should be prohibited, I'd call them out right there on the spot. Let's set up a camera. Why do you think marijuana should be illegal? Here are the facts, and you're wrong. You have not, the marijuana prohibition has not accomplished absolutely anything. So if the reason you support prohibition is because you want to reduce marijuana use, that logically doesn't make any sense, because prohibition does not reduce marijuana use. So if you want to reduce marijuana use, you should support legalization.
I hope that you guys are listening to this and digesting it. Outside the box thinking is something that all of us need to realize is the only way we can realize our freedoms. There's something that is represented here that I think all of you need to really look at personally, and that is your freedom to choose things that you want. And Bronson here is talking about less restriction and sort of like going into, I guess it's not really the enemy camp, it's going into the system to try to change the system from within. Would you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah.
You have a lot of things that you'd like to change.
Absolutely.
And whether or not you get to the seat or not, I know that your strong voice is going to be a good influence to people, because it gets them thinking. And whether you agree with them or not, we always talk about that. I'd rather have someone who can think and is able to process and learn and understand. If someone doesn't agree with me, it may not be as powerful as can I speak to them.
Yeah.
And actually have dialogue to help make something change and happen.
The thing is, I swallowed the red pill a long time ago. I'm a truth seeker. I don't care where the truth takes me. I'm going down the rabbit hole, and I'm finding whatever I can find. And so I have to get rid of all my, emotional, cognitive biases, what I want to believe. I have to cast that aside and say, actually, I'm just going to go whatever the evidence says, that's where I'm going to go. And for me, it was like a kind of a revelation almost. I was sitting at the computer one day. I was like, oh my goodness, I was completely wrong about everything. And it just hit me. And I just kept digging, and now I'm here to spread that message.
There you go. I hope that this was a great value to you and you enjoyed it, and I hope that you can take it to the next step. If they have any questions and things, you want them to email you? Or
Bronson Kaahui at gmail.com. BronsonKaahui.com is my website. Check it out.
Do you know how to spell Kaahui?
Facebook, Bronson Kaahui.
K-A-A-H-U-I, right?
Yeah.
K-A-A-H-U-I. BronsonKaahui.com?
That's right.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone. Aloha.